everyone, this is Peak Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and this will be a non-spoiler review of The Marvels. Released on Friday the 10th of November 2023, it stars Brie Larson, Iman Vellani, Tenyoah Paris, Zaid Ashton, Gary Lewis and Samuel L. Jackson, and it was directed by DaCosta. Now, The Marvels is the sequel to the Captain Marvel film of 2019, which grossed over $1.1 billion at the box office. It is the 33rd film in the ever-existing Marvel Cinematic Universe, and coming into 2023, it is the third film in the Phase 5, after Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and also Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, the story of The Marvels concentrates on three superpowered individuals. We have Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, who has been based in space, having further adventures; Kamala Khan's Miss Marvel, who has been based in Boston; and Monica Rambeau, who works with S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Nick Fury for the Space Saber program. Now, all three of their lives become connected when a warrior from the planet Kree named Dar-Benn locates a quantum band, and when connecting it with her own weapon, opens up a jump point in space. Now, Monica Rambeau during a space expedition connects to a jump point, and this triggers an event where we see all three superheroines' abilities crossing over and switching with one another. Now, after some very chaotic shenanigans, the trio finally settle together to team up to actually adapt to each other's abilities. They then learn of Dar-Benn's quest for vengeance against Carol Danvers, and they ultimately have to team up together in order to stop her. There's been so much debate, largely on a negative side unfortunately, around this movie when following the fallout from the first film from 2019, the current perception of the MCU and its overall decline in performance after certain movies, and also the very mixed to negative reception regarding the Disney Plus shows. We've seen constant doomsday predictions regarding its forecast and box office during its opening weekend. But when we focus around the movie itself, overall I have to say that The Marvels plays like a bright, chaotic Saturday morning cartoon that's probably more appealing to kids rather than adults. Now, if you do want to take your kid to this film, you'll probably find it's very light, thoughtless, very harmless adventure, lots of bright colours and loud noises to keep your kid happily bopping along and maybe laughing at certain moments for its 1 hour and 45 minute runtime. But if you're looking for something far more substantial and exhilarating and stand out and exciting, then this movie just isn't going to be for you. It's a movie where I can see small gaps of potential, but every time we get to those moments, they're undone by some more over-the-top, really random set pieces that really have your head scratching at times as to what exactly they were thinking of when putting these sequences in the film. They feel so random and almost as if you're watching another film, and it really makes The Marvels a very frustrating experience to try and get through. The first 30 minutes especially, the film is so scattershot, barely giving us time to get to learn these characters and what they've been up to before we start jumping in and out of portals into spaceships and houses over certain planets. We get all of these quick edits, lots of songs and big explosions and laser beams and energy waves and flying sequences, and sadly for the most part you're really disengaged. This is very similar to what I experienced when watching the DC's Blue Beetle film. Now, the film tries to provide some sort of background where we get these hectic flashbacks of the original material that these characters came from. So with the Carol Danvers, we get all of these flashbacks regarding her first film. We have, of course, Kamala Khan's Miss Marvel series, and we do get flashbacks to the moment where we saw Monica Rambeau coming out the blip in the opening episodes of WandaVision. Now, of course, if you've been following the MCU for many years now, these moments will seem very familiar. But if you're coming into this movie having no idea what the Disney Plus shows, maybe you have very little knowledge of the MCU, you're just coming into this as a standalone viewer, you're not going to have any idea what's going on, and the film again is so quickly rushing through these moments, they don't really have time to provide any real context towards these characters. Now, when the film eventually settles down and we just get the three lead characters on their own, talking, connecting, conversing around one another, it's likely when we get the best moments of the film. And this is where I have to give credit to all three actresses who really give their full efforts here. And overall, they have a really good dynamic and chemistry, and this ultimately saves the movie. All three of them carry themselves and are very likeable, and I think have very bright, endearing personalities. And I think the deliberate move to have the two other Marvel characters in Miss Marvel and Monica Rambeau playing alongside Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, definitely benefited the lead actress here and given her much room to exhibit much more charisma and personality than what we saw in the first Captain Marvel movie. And again, I liked the camaraderie between all three, especially when they're training to learn each other's abilities, and I think at this stage, moments like this just made the film a bit more tolerable. Now, if there was no dynamic between these characters, I probably would have walked out of this film halfway through. In terms of their performances, I think Iman Vellani's Miss Marvel is easily the brightest spot here, again bringing a lot of that likeability than what we saw within her own television series. I also liked the inclusion of Kamala Khan's family, who were able to generate much more natural and organic humour through their presence, and again they brought about that likeability as with Kamala from their own television series. Now unfortunately there were those characters who didn't fare quite as well, and we talk about Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury, a character who used to be one of the coolest additions within the MCU, but sadly now over the last, I'd say probably 3 to 4 years, has really regressed and diminished, which each successive entry of the MCU probably post phase 3, and now he really is just a caricature and just there for comic relief and not really that funny, to be honest with you. And I think it's just a shame, and it just seems again that Samuel L. Jackson is just there to just pick up the paychecks and just casually go through the motions. And once again, the curse of the weak villain within the MCU appears here once again. The villain of Dar-Benn is overall, I believe, one of the worst villains of the MCU. She has a logical motivation that we discover, but the film never does anything with it. This was the real chance here to develop a real personal sense and a deep character motivation, but she just ends up being so one note and so one dimensional and literally is disposable, as when we come to the film's overall climax, we see her overall conclusion and you kind of just shrug your shoulders and she ends up being very forgettable like most of this movie. And sadly, The Marvels is a film that, when you really think about it, is overall very disposable. It's a movie that's very lightweight, and yes, it can be fun at times, and I think we do have to again respect a comic book movie that does have a sense of its own idiocy in many ways. It knows exactly what it is and it doesn't try to be anything else. And this approach, it probably helps it in its more successful moments. But I really think a director with far more experience and skill and poise probably would have managed this material a lot better. And it's as clear as day that this movie has been edited to shreds all over the place. I can easily see a longer and far more superior film here, where we have moments that just gives the audience time to breathe, gives the story a bit more mileage in order to develop itself properly, much more room and development for the overall villain. And if all of these elements have been put into place, I truly believe The Marvels could have overall been a far more enjoyable and satisfying experience, but sadly that wasn't to be. Now, as usual, there are end credit scenes. I believe there's only one that happens midway through the credits, and I have very mixed feelings about it. I'll talk about it more in the spoiler review, so look out for that in the future. But as we look at The Marvels, it sadly is, yet again, another very disposable, ultimately forgettable experience, very much in the diminishing returns of the Phase 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So those are my overall thoughts and feelings and my non-spoiler review of The Marvels. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I will be uploading shortly my spoiler review, but I'll talk more in depth about the elements that I think worked well and what didn't work quite as well within the film. So look out for that shortly within the channel. And of course, I will cover the opening box office weekend of the movie and talk about where exactly the MCU can go next following this overall release. So look out for that great content on the channel. And if you have any other suggestions regarding any other movies, television series, or any other topics within the MCU or in entertainment in general that you'd like to see me cover, then also let me know within the comments and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please consider hitting like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves and I will see you very, very soon.